you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming out. Was it hard to find?
No, it was not.
Okay.
Was not.
Okay. The
GPS is great.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Traffic was special today, though.
Charlotte, it always is.
So, man, welcome to the show. We're gonna get into it, but you guys, we're gonna get started. So, welcome to the Famously Local podcast. Local, not local, but famous around these parts. You are on that air with the hostess with the mostest, sharing the good news that you can use as we talk, community awareness, and keep you in the know. I am Angela McNeil Woods, aliasly known as That Laurel Hill Girl, and today, you guys, I am welcoming. You know, like in church, they say it 3 times. I don't know what the Trinity. Oh, we'll get into that. Trilogy Trinity. You guys, I have here author, graphic novelist, comic book artist, etc., entrepreneur, Mr. Brady Moore. Welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here. Really excited.
Good stuff. All right, well, we're going to get on into it, you guys. I want to show you his beautiful, beautiful book because I was like, wow, when I saw it. And this is the cover of it. And it's just one of many. You know, there are more to come, and then he does have more. But this is the one I have with me today. Now, tell us where you are from.
I am from right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I actually went to high school at Independence High School right down the street here in Mid Hill. So
wow,
I'm very local.
Okay, born and bred.
Born and bred.
So you've seen all of the changes.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I haven't been in this area in a long time, probably like 6 or 7 years. So it's different. It's a lot different.
Yeah. Well, in Charlotte, it's different.
Always changing.
I'm kind of like, can they put a hold on some of these apartments though? It
seems like there's apartments sprouting up everywhere.
And honestly, when I see them, they're not all full. So my thing is, I
don't know where they're getting people from to put in the apartments.
I think I know where. Everybody's coming this way, you know. Yeah. And so we're dealing with the crime and etc. But I'm praying that things get better, you know. But I still love the Queen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I still love the Queen. Now, when I look at your collection, your trilogy, I go wow, because it's entertaining. It's like a movie, you know. And so how do you sleep at night? Do you sleep at all?
Well, I have 2 young children. I have a 3-year-old and a 8-month-old. So
boy, girl, or
boy's 3 years old, and the girl is 8 months old.
Okay, so you got one of each. Okay, that's good stuff. So you are up anyway.
So, yeah, I'm always. Okay. I'm a night owl anyway. So
okay, but you got to be always thinking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for you to have come up with your trilogy, it's amazing. So how do you wind down? You know, what puts you in a relaxed mode?
Usually lounges, like bars, places like that.
Yeah.
At nighttime, when the kids are in bed, it's quiet. I have a little dog too, so it's just me and the dog. Dogs are sitting in the corner.
One dog?
Just one dog. Okay. Just one dog.
Okay, we've got 2 fur babies.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot.
It's definitely a lot.
Oh, it's a lot.
Another child.
Now he said bars because you don't look like you're older than 18 years old.
Oh, I'm definitely older than 18 years old.
Look at God, I tell you. Well, you know what they say, like no crap.
Yeah.
You look really good. So now, have you always wanted to be an author?
I have always liked creating stories.
Yeah.
The author thing really came about after I graduated college. I was working part-time. Well, I was working part-time and then full-time as a movie theater manager. And at the time, before digital projection, you still had the film projectors. So they had a projection person that worked upstairs. And in between starting the movies, there was a lot of downtime. And I actually I wrote a crime fiction novel. Just something I came up with a long time ago when I was like 18.
What's the name of that one?
It's called Poker Face.
Poker Face.
I self-published it.
Okay.
Wow. It's not really in circulation anymore. It came out in like 2010, I want to say.
Okay.
But that was my first time writing a book, and it was really just, you know, seeing if I could do it. Just, you know, I have these ideas in my head. Let me try to see if I actually like writing novels. And when I was in college, I was a broadcasting and film major. And so I did a lot of radio. Yeah. I did a lot of broadcasting. I did a lot of film editing, and I also did some script writing here and there. Yeah. So that kind of got the juices flowing as far as writing. And after I wrote the crime fiction novel, I was like, okay, well, I have all these other ideas that I came up with you know, throughout life.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can you know, actually make this thing a career. And then my wife, actually, she's my girlfriend at the time, she kind of promoted, he started, you know, really encouraging me really to you know, look out and see if I could actually continue to get these novels put out there. So, you know, I kept at it and continued to hone my craft more than anything. And that's how it all started.
That's okay. Now I want to know, how did you come up with, like, was it like a Biggie song? It was all a dream, you know?
So I got to attribute a lot of my creativeness to my older brother. So we're 3 years apart, and we grew up like we were into everything: science fiction, comic books. Like we were huge comic book nerds.
Yeah.
Like we
Is he still like that too?
Yeah, definitely. He has a series that he kind of came up with when we were younger.
Yeah. What's his name?
His name is Cameron.
Shout out to you, Cam.
Shout out to Cam.
Good stuff.
And definitely one of the things that's on my bucket list down the road is turning the story that he created into a series as well. But we used to always come up with these ideas. And when I was younger, like middle school age, a lot of my ideas would just be rip-offs of his ideas, or rip-offs of like things that were you know, already out. But as I got older, I started to learn my own, you know, level of storytelling, the things that I wanted to tell, and kind of started to pick ideas from other things. I started to come up with my own ideas for things, and with Clairvoyants, it really kind of sprouted from the X-Men comics and movies, which is one of my favorite Marvel comics. Yeah. And one of my favorite things about X-Men is you have this huge, diverse group of characters. You know, you have, you know, Asian characters, white, black, and you know, Storm was always one of my favorite characters. But one of the most prominent characters in the X-Men stories was Professor X and Jean Grey, who had these psychic powers. And I thought, you know, what if I took those psychic powers and kind of just split them up into, you know, different characters? And from that, the story kind of came about with this introverted African-American teenager, and I came up with the story when I was in high school, so I kind of put a lot of myself into the character. And then it really just started to build from there. Now, first of all, you know, I can't stop congratulating you, because you're so young in authoring, you know, and I'm just proud, like a mama, you know. I appreciate it. And I run into a lot of older, you know, authors, and especially doing multiple events, and a lot of authors in their 50s and 60s, and I'm like, hey, you don't have to wait, you know, until you're older, you know, you can get started now. And so that's definitely been something that has motivated me to kind of, you know, go at it now, you know, so that, you know, when I'm older, I can already have that collection of things and continue to build my craft as I get older. Yeah.
Now, Brady, tell us about each book. Your Clairvoyant. You can use this if you need to, but I just wanted to see this cover again. It's just...
And I can't take credit for the cover. I had some graphic designers that created the cover. I gave them the ideas for the cover, and they created some beautiful art that I absolutely love.
Yeah, that was one of my questions too. Who was your?
I don't know the name of the. It's a company in general that does it, but they did an amazing job.
And they did each one. Okay.
And the first book, The Fourth Kinetic, is the start of the trilogy, and it's the story of Ryan Green, who is a 17-year-old African-American teenager. It's just him and his single mother. Yeah. They move constantly. At the start of the book, he's at his 6th high school, and he started his senior year.
Is he a bad kid?
He's not a bad kid. He's very introverted, doesn't really try to make friends anymore, because he knows he might not be there long. His mother is a freelance researcher, so she just goes to different companies and does audits and things like that. Okay. And so he has this ability to move things with his mind. It kind of sprung up when he was just a young age, like 8 or 9 years old. And he's never told anybody about it. He just kind of toys with it when he's in his spare time. And it's really just the only thing that kind of gives him, you know, solace and just gets him through the day-to-day. He doesn't, like I said, he doesn't make friends. He doesn't have social media. He really just sticks to himself.
Okay, he's a true.
And he starts this new school, and he actually makes a new friend named Dee, who is also just like him. She's a military.
No spoiler alert.
Well, this is not a spoiler. I promise I'm not going to give you any spoilers. I promise I won't give you any spoilers. Okay. But he meets this new friend named Dee, who's very much, you know, like him as far as moving around from place to place. Okay. And she's almost the opposite of him, where she's very extroverted, and she sees him and she's like, hey, you know, we have this thing in common. So he strikes up this friendship with her. But essentially what happens is this organization comes looking for his mother. Okay. And he ends up having to move abruptly again, and it severs his relationship with his new friend. And he lashes out at his mother because of what happens. But they end up getting separated. And he finds out his mother has known about his powers all along. And so now he's questioning, have they really been moving because of her job, or have they been moving so that she can keep him safe? And so when the organization finds out about him, now he becomes their target as well. But in that, he meets the Clairvoyants, these other people with powers similar to his, who have all known each other through their entire lives, and they don't have memories of how they got their powers or how they met each other. So he becomes this fish out of water, trying to meet these other people and find out where he fits into this group, as well as fighting against this organization and trying to find his mom.
Man, that's good. Now, the fifth one, the fifth strain. Okay.
So the fifth strain, again, I won't give too many spoilers away, but it continues the journey after book one, where he's kind of ingrained into this new kind of family of clairvoyants that has really a couple of different factions of this kind of broken family, because there are 12 initial clairvoyants that all escaped from this lab with no memories of their past, all from different backgrounds, and they all have powers. There's 4 different types of clairvoyant in the first book that we get to meet. We get to meet the prophets, who can see the future, who are the oldest of the clairvoyants, and their visions are not voluntary. They can be caused through physical pain, but they happen randomly about things pertaining to other clairvoyants. But they can also have concurrent visions, where they can see things in the future in the immediate. So they could be seeing the future of what's happening right now. So they can see all different alternatives. They can tell whether you're going to write something down, whether you're not going to write something down.
So we're talking about the 4 breeds.
Okay. And then there's the readers, who can mind read. They can look into your thoughts and see memories and things like that. And then you have one of my favorites, which is the Aurals, who can what's called aural project. So they can they can send their consciousness into the body of somebody else's and take over your mind. Now, when they do that, their own body becomes inanimate. And one of the most popular characters in the stories that I had no idea was going to become this popular is this cat named Lyra. It's actually my wife's all-time name. She has a T-shirt that says Team Lyra. Oh, wow. And it's this cat who is actually an aural clairvoyant. And when she was younger and not knowing her powers fully, she jumped into the body of a cat and didn't jump out of the cat in time back into her own body. Oh, wow. So now she's stuck into the body of the cat. And it's just a warning of how dangerous their powers can be if they don't learn how to control them. And then you have the Kinetics, which is what Ryan is, which is those who can move things with their mind, and then some of them can even fly. So those are the 4 strains or breeds that we get to meet in the first book, and then we learn that there's a 5th strain that nobody knew about, and that's what book 2 entails. And then in book 3, which is the conclusion of the trilogy,
the Sixth Serum.
The Sixth Serum.
Sixth Serum.
I don't want to give too much away about book 3 because it involves a lot. It's once you get to book 3, there's a lot of things that have happened up to that point, but a lot of it revolves around them fighting against this organization, and Ryan is really coming into his own as really a hero, a superhero, because when we start the story, he's really just this kid who had this kind of gift he used as a hobby, and now he's having to fight for his life. He's trying to find his mom, and by book 3, we really see him come into his own and really learn his power and become one of the stronger characters.
I can't wait till this comes to TV.
And it's very cinematic, and I drew a lot of inspiration from movies as well. And we also, one of the biggest overarching plot lines of the story is who is Ryan's father, because his mother never talks about his dad. It's a very touchy subject with her, and once they get separated, that mystery is still there, and so that question is resolved in book 3. So that's the overarching story. There's a lot of twists and turns and secrets in there.
All good stuff. I need some popcorn right about now. So let me ask you, how does it feel to have a trilogy at such a young age?
It is surreal, especially for someone who just really grew up loving, movies and TV shows and comic books and books. And, when I first started doing it, it was just a hobby, and it really was not something that I planned on moving forward. But once I started doing it, it was like, why haven't I been doing this all along? Because I have so many of these stories that I came up with in middle school and high school. And, I have book ideas. I have at least 10 book ideas lined up. And so for me, it was just it was very sobering to kind of, very humbling to have them just there to just look at. Even when I self-published my first book, when I first had it in hand, me and my brother just looked at each other like, wow, like we really did it, we actually did it.
Yeah.
And when I go to events and when I do book signings and things like that, when I get to meet people who have read the book and they're so excited. My wife is a school teacher and she teaches high school kids now.
What's your wife's name?
Her name is Christy.
Hey, Christy.
Hi, Christy. And she teaches high school kids. She teaches reading. She teaches English. So she had the book in her school library, and a student had checked out the books and was reading them and had no idea she was married to the author. And I came to speak to her class, and they were all just locked in, super excited. One of the things that has been the most fulfilling about this journey is being able to speak to the target audience, because it is a book about a 17-year-old teenager, and so being able to talk to African American teenagers and people who are going through those same types of identity issues and trying to find their place in life, because that's really what the allegory for the book is. It's about when you leave your parents, who do you become? Right. And you have what your parents instilled in you. You have all these new people that you're meeting with different influences that are exciting but also dangerous if you don't have morals instilled in you. And so to see people who are going through those same types of issues and have them so excited, and to speak to that student who was just like the biggest fan and just talk about all the different characters and
they read it.
So it's just like I've always been a fan. I would love to meet the creators of the things that I love.
Your favorites,
So those are the most fulfilling aspects of being a writer.
How do you stay humble though? I mean, you just like.
I'm not. I'm never the type of person who brags about anything I do, just because.
That's right.
I've experienced a lot of rejection. I've experienced a lot of rejection when it came to just finding a publisher who would actually produce it, and with writing the same way with acting and singing, it's hard to get anywhere. It's hard to get an album made. It's hard to get an acting gig.
That's right.
And so you have to have some humility when you're going through it, because that anytime you might not be able to do this thing.
You might get the no.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be willing to push forward through those no's. So for me, I'm always reminded of when I wasn't able to get those opportunities. So it's easy for me to not when people say, "Oh, I can't wait for this to become a movie." I would love for it to become a movie, but if it doesn't, I am proud of what I was able to create.
You should,
and when it becomes a movie, I'll be sitting there, just as excited, just as humble as I was when I first wrote it.
That's good stuff. I love it. Now, I love how you engage with your audience on Instagram too. You ask them questions. It's like not a challenge, but like you ask them, did you get how was the clairvoyant created, or who was Ryan's father? I love that you. Yeah,
that was one of my favorite aspects, is the poll questions and people on.
Did you get a good response out of it?
Yeah, I've gotten great responses out of every poll that I've done, and I think one of the most popular ones I did was the people's favorite cover of the three, and it's never the one that's my favorite is actually the Fifth String. That's probably my favorite cover.
Oh, is it?
But most people say this the first one.
Let me tell you, the illustrator. Hands down.
Knocked it out of the park.
The stance on here is like, you see me.
And they got the stars in the background.
Yes.
And constellations play a very big role in the story. The clairvoyants all have a constellation on their wrist that was embedded in them as pretty much to identify them when they were basically experimented on.
Yeah.
And that's how they get their names. So one of the readers, his name is Leo. He has the constellation Leo on his wrist. So that's the constellation aspect of it was one of my favorite aspects of it. And so to have that, the stars in the background, the constellation Orion is actually on the back of the book, and it's very subtle. So that they really put in some really cool details on there.
I love it, man. So let me ask you this question. What do you think is the age range for your readers?
I would say middle school age and up, so around like 12, 13 and up would enjoy the book. It really appeals to a lot of different ages. There's nothing too raunchy in there, so I think the word usage is probably the most difficult thing for like really younger readers. But I've had really like 12-year-old kids who read the books and were able to follow along and love it. So, and then I've had older, adults who are just as ecstatic about it and love it. My parents obviously sing the praises to their friends constantly. So, I've met people of all ages who really love the book and who really identify with a lot of the characters.
So, how is your experience? Because now your first book you self-published, correct? Now with your trilogy, you went through. Is it Carrier? How do you say it?
So I've been through both aspects of the publishing, industry, the self-publishing aspect, which there's no right way to publish. I've met a lot of aspiring authors who kind of ask how they should go about it.
Yeah.
And I always equate it to whether you want to start a small business or not.
Okay.
If you're going to self-publish, you have to understand there's a lot of your own time and money that are going to go into it. Because you're going to have to pay for cover design, you're going to have to pay for an editor, and you need to get an editor.
Gotta have an editor.
And you're going to have to pay for your own marketing. You're going to have to be really active on social media. You're going to have to build your own brand.
A lot of work.
You're going to have to go through, going to events and networking. And with Kyle, they were a very small, up and coming publishing company when I first started with them. I think I was their fourth or fifth publication.
Wow.
And so I still had to do, my own marketing, but also I didn't have to pay for the editing. I didn't have to pay for, the cover design.
Yeah, because they took care of all of that.
But with that, you're going to get a smaller amount of royalties when you go through the, seeking out a publisher, seeking out a literary agent, than you would if you self-publish. But again, it's a push and pull. So, you're going to have a wider reach with going through a publisher.
Yeah. But
if you self-publish, you control your own reach. So you get back whatever you put in.
Yeah, right.
But for me, working a full-time job, I got 2 kids. So, it's, I can't, go through the self-publishing route. I didn't want to go through the self-publishing route with this particular story.
Right.
But it's definitely not something that I would rule out in the future, especially as I, build that brand that I have.
Yeah. Wow. Well, they seem like they're really good too, though. Now, and it seems like you enjoy going to the schools and talking with the kids. Tell us about your writer's experience. Like when you go to the schools, are you nervous at all?
At first, because I am not a public speaker.
What? I can't tell.
I am not a public, like I said, there's a lot of me and Ryan. When I was younger, I was very introverted. But the more you do it, the more you warm up to it. And for me, the first time I spoke to a class was a summer school class. It was an old friend of mine. He was a teacher. And it was actually at Rocky River High School, not too far from here. And I was nervous. And it was a lot of boys in the class. Yeah. And there was a lot of a lot of kids who caused some ruckus here and there. But as soon as I started talking about the story, as soon as I started talking about the character, they were just so enamored with the idea. And I originally had brought one book to raffle out to the class, and they were like fighting over who.
Are you serious?
They were actually arguing over who would play the character in the movie between them, and so that was really cool. And so once I was able to do that and see, how interested that age group is with the story. And growing up, there weren't books like this with an African American lead.
Yeah.
And that was something that was really important to me growing up. A lot of the African American characters were the side characters. Yeah. And I wanted to make sure that I made stories where we were at the forefront. Yeah. And so that was really important to me. Every book I write, there's an African American character. Every idea that I have is an African American character at the forefront. So to see, kids around the same age as Ryan and to meet kids who were the same age that I was when I created the story, who have that same kind of yearning for, stories like this, was really, kind of motivation for me. And so the nerves, go away as soon as you really start feeding off of their, how excited they are. And then for me, talking about it is fun for me because, I'm very passionate about the stories.
That's right. Now, when school returns, will you be doing any book tours? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My wife will not let me not go to classrooms because she enjoys telling other teachers and faculty members about the story. So yeah, definitely will be going to more events and you can always follow me on Instagram to find out where I'm going to be next on my website, authorbeemore.com. Yeah. I'm always posting where I'm going to be.
Now, when is your next book signing?
There's no book signings planned at the moment. In December, I do usually do. It's at J.M. Robinson High School. They have a winter bazaar.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the date is at the moment, but it is in December.
Okay.
So I will be at that event, and then new events always pop up all the time. And there's conventions and things like that I'm always have an ear to the ground to see if I'm going to go to those.
Now I saw a beautiful photo of you and your son. You at a bookstore, and so you have your books in Davidson at what is it, Main Street Books?
And then it's at Park Road Books in Charlotte.
Awesome.
They've been carrying it the longest. The oldest independent bookstore in Charlotte.
Yeah.
So it was very exciting to get to work with them, and I've done a book signing there as well.
That's huge.
And to have my books in store there, and one of the coolest moments for me, they have it on 2 different shelves. So they have it in the science fiction section, and they also have it on the young adult section.
Okay.
And in the young adult section, it was one shelf above the Harry Potter books.
Wow.
And in the other section, Janelle Monáe wrote a science fiction book, and it was right beside Janelle Monáe's book.
You're talking singer?
Yeah, Janelle Monáe.
Wow. See, I didn't know that.
So my books were right there with some of my favorite just people and authors. So that was kind of the pinch me, I'm dreaming moment. To be on the shelf with those authors is pretty cool.
That's awesome. See, that's what I'm talking about. I'm just so proud of you, man. That's I love it. So now, your collection comes in hardback?
Right now, it's just the paperback. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, just the way it feels like hardback. And don't get scared, you guys, because it's an easy read. I love the lettering, big enough for me to see it. You know what I'm saying? And it's not one of those things where it's so small and it's going to take you forever to read. Because to look at it, you'd be like, oh my God.
My younger sister, she was just like, Brady, I don't know about this. But I'm like, hey, if you start reading, I promise you'll enjoy it, and I promise you won't put it down.
That's right.
And I was like that too when I was younger. I was not a big fan of novels, and novels can always be daunting when they're bigger books. But then when you start reading a really great book that grabs you, like you comb through it.
That's right. Now, are people able to purchase your books in comic stores too? Or?
So right now, the only stores are local in Charlotte. Okay. But the primary way of purchasing is through Amazon and also through my website, authorBMoore.com.
Okay, and you said that was Author B Moore?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, .com. All right. And I'll have that additional information for you guys in his about section of his video. And well, man, I tell you, this is good stuff. Now, your social media platforms is Instagram and Facebook.
I'm also on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay, and
X now.
Okay, on Facebook, you're what?
It's Author B Moore on Facebook. On Instagram, it's B Moore the Author.
Okay, and do you, sir, have any advice for aspiring writers?
My biggest advice is to love what you do. Don't get into it to try to get rich. Don't get into it to try to have your books turned into movies or to be famous or anything like that. Just like with acting and singing, you have to love what you're doing, because that's the only way that passion is going to bleed through in your project. And for me, I'm a huge movie buff. I grew up loving movies. I said I worked at a movie theater for a long time. For a long time, I did movie blogging, and I can always tell when I'm watching a project whether it was just a soulless cash grab or whether they were really trying to create something, that was memorable.
Right.
And so when you're creating anything, don't get caught up in the editing process, or because you can get an editor to kind of fine tune your work. Really focus on the story aspect of it. Really focus on creating a story and characters that you love. Because if you love your story, other people will see that love.
That's right. That's right. Well, sir, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you again for coming and definitely for sharing. Now, to continue having great content, you guys, such as this, we definitely want you to subscribe to the Famously Local Podcast YouTube channel. Like, share, and comment. And, we want to keep authors and business owners and everyone, etc., coming on the platform so that because that's, we want to put it out there. And I thank you again. And again, I say wow, because this has been excellent. I love it. And I'm going to get my next 2 books. And we're going to have we won't let the cat away. But you guys make sure you go to that Instagram, and make your purchases, and also Amazon.com. And I thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, family. You heard it. Local, not local, but famous around these parts. Y'all be blessed.